Imagine a time before trains, before modern cities, a time when India was a patchwork of powerful kingdoms. This is the year 1764. The once mighty Mughal Empire was weakening. Its emperors were still respected, but their real power was slipping away. Local kings and princes, Nawabs, Rajas, were carving out their own territories, especially in the rich and fertile lands of Bengal. This region was a global hotspot for trade. Spices, silks, cotton were famous across the world, and everyone wanted a piece of the action. This was an India of incredible wealth and opportunity, but also one of growing instability. Into this complex world stepped a new and ambitious player, the British East India Company. This wasn't a government or an army, not at first anyway. It was a company of merchants from Britain, but the company had its own private army, its own forts, and a burning ambition to make as much money as possible. On one side of the battlefield stood a powerful Indian alliance, a coalition of three key figures, each hoping to drive the British out of Bengal for good. Mir Qasim, the recently deposed Nawab of Bengal, a reforming, determined ruler who tried to strengthen administration and army, installed by the British but refused to be their puppet. Shuja-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh. Awadh, a large wealthy kingdom west of Bengal, an ambitious ruler with a strong army. He brought large cavalry and infantry and hosted the campaign from his lands. Shah Alam II, the Mughal emperor. His military power was small, but his name mattered. In theory sovereign of India, his presence gave the alliance legitimacy. Facing them, the much smaller, highly disciplined army of the British East India Company. Commander Major Hector Munro, a tough, experienced Scottish officer. His force, about 850 European soldiers, and over 6,000 highly trained Indian sepoys, trained and paid by the company. Munro's crucial advantages were superior training, battlefield discipline, and modern flintlock muskets. A contest of numbers versus discipline, tradition versus modernity. The stage was set at a small town called Buxar. The primary reason for the conflict was control over trade and taxes in Bengal. The company had been granted a royal permit, or dastak, which allowed them to trade without paying local taxes. Company officials began to abuse this privilege, using tax-free passes for private trade. They sold goods more cheaply while local merchants still paid taxes. This crippled Bengal's economy and the Nawab's treasury. When Mir Qasim became Nawab, he acted. His solution? If the British wouldn't pay taxes, then nobody would. He abolished internal trade taxes for everyone, leveling the playing field. Company officials were furious. Their profits were threatened. The company demanded Mir Qasim restore their privileges. When he refused, they declared him hostile. A series of small battles followed. The company's superior army defeated Mir Qasim's forces, forcing him to flee. Driven from his kingdom, Mir Qasim sought help and formed an alliance with Shuja-ud-Dawla and the Mughal emperor. For Shuja-ud-Dawla, it was a chance to expand his power by checking the British. For Shah Alam II, it was an opportunity to reassert Mughal authority. Together they planned to march into Bengal, crush the company, and restore an order where Indian rulers, not foreign merchants, called the shots. The two armies met near the small fortified town of Buxar on the banks of the Ganges. The Indian alliance, under Shuja-ud-Dawla, had a massive numerical advantage, around 40,000 soldiers. Cavalry, infantry, artillery, entrenched and protected by the river. On paper, their position looked unassailable. Major Hector Munro, with just over 7,000 men, knew a frontal assault would be suicidal. He planned to concentrate his force on specific weak points, striking the enemy left flank. The battle began on the morning of the 22nd of October 1764. Munro executed his plan, concentrating attack on the left flank. The disciplined British and sepoy infantry advanced in tight formation, weathering inaccurate cannon fire. Once in range, they unleashed rapid, accurate volleys that decimated the opposing ranks. The Indian soldiers were not trained to withstand such organized fire. Their lines began to waver and then break. The battle lasted roughly 3 hours. By midday, the lines had snapped and the field turned into a rout. Thousands of casualties for the alliance. Company losses were in the low hundreds. It was a stunningly decisive victory for Major Munro and the East India Company. The victory at Buxar was absolute. Its consequences were immediate and far-reaching. The formidable Indian alliance was shattered. Shuja-ud-Dawla fled, pursued by the British. Mir Qasim became a wanderer and died in poverty years later. The Mughal emperor found himself at the mercy of the British and surrendered. This led to the Treaty of Allahabad in 1765, a dictation of terms by the victor. The treaty was signed by Robert Clive and the defeated rulers. Crucially, Shah Alam II granted the company the Diwani, the right to collect revenue in Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. This was the ultimate prize, control over the finances of India's richest province. The company became the official revenue collector, controlling administration and finance without ruling directly, at least at first. They used tax money to buy goods to export and to pay for a massive army, sending enormous profits back to Britain. Local rulers became ceremonial. Awadh became a British-dependent buffer state. The foundations of British rule in India were now firmly in place. To understand Buxar, compare it with Plassey in 1757. Plassey, led by Robert Clive, defeated Siraj-ud-Dawla largely through secret deals, not open battle. Clive had a secret deal with Mir Jafar. Sections of the Nawab's army refused to fight. Plassey was a victory built on treachery. Buxar was different, a straight-up fight, no major betrayals. The company defeated a grand alliance in open battle. Superior tactics, training and weaponry won the day. Plassey gave a foothold. Buxar gave legal authority, Diwani rights to collect revenue. After Plassey, they were kingmakers. After Buxar, they became the kings themselves, holding the real power and the purse strings. Buxar provided the financial engine for conquest. Tax money turned into army strength. This led to exploitation, harsh policies, and famines in the decades that followed. The echoes of Major Monroe's cannons in 1764 reverberated through Indian history, shaping the destiny of a nation. While Plassey opened the door, Buxar blew it off its hinges.